All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to Press X Podcast. Welcome if you're new. Thank you guys so much for joining me today and waiting patiently, as always, for the intro to finish up. I hope everybody is doing well today. It's a Monday, almost said morning, but it's technically afternoon now, at least for me. And yeah, it's another really cold day. It's like below freezing outside here. So trying to stay warm inside, trying to go with the warmer lighting. Also, I think this lighting kind of matches Saros a little bit, which is what we're going to talk about today. So we do have three main topics of discussion today. Number one, Saros at the Game Awards. We're going to be talking about this. Yes, I am getting old. And we are talking about Saros. It seems as though it's pretty much locked in at this point that Saros will be showing up at the Game Awards. We're also going to be talking about Physint, Hideo Kojima's next big PlayStation exclusive game that's currently in development. Probably going to be a PlayStation 6 title. He talks a little bit more about it. And, any excuse I have to talk about Physint, I'm going to take it. And we are also going to be talking about Flight Simulator on PS5 Pro. We have new information on how this game is going to run. This is a notoriously demanding game. So we're going to check that out. But yeah, guys, before we dive into it, if you do enjoy Press X Podcast and if you enjoy the content here, just take a moment and hit that like button. I'd really appreciate it. And consider supporting the channel as well. Helldivers 2 is a very addicting game. It's a very good game. But we'll see how today's stream goes. I don't know how long it's going to be. It might be on the shorter side. May test something out a little bit today. We'll see. But we're going to dive right into the first topic, which is talking about Saros. So over on Gamatsu, they say Saros Standard and Digital Deluxe editions were rated today in Taiwan, so pre-orders are likely opening soon. And to me, the big thing here is the timing of this. We've talked extensively about the mysterious Game Award statue. What does it mean? Does it mean anything significant in regards to a big game, an exciting game? What game could it be teasing? It does seem as though it's clear that it is teasing a game that's going to show up at the Game Awards. And quite a few people over the last few days, as more and more games are kind of getting whittled off the list, like it's not this game, it's not that game, it's not this project, it's not that project. More and more people are looking at it and thinking, I think it's Saros. I think that's the game it's teasing. And yeah, you can certainly see that with a lot of what's on display with the statue. But the big thing here is we know Saros is launching in March. It's the first, I guess, bigger PlayStation title. Pretty much, I think, the only PlayStation title right now that's lined up with a specific release date for 2026. And so people are expecting this game is going to show up at the Game Awards. I think that's something that a lot of people are anticipating. A lot of PlayStation fans are anticipating. And so by this game getting rated in Taiwan specifically for a standard and digital deluxe edition, I think it's safe to say we are going to be getting a pre-order announcement trailer for Saros at the Game Awards. If you were to ask me, out of everything that PlayStation is working on right now, everything we know about every PlayStation studio, what is the most likely thing? If just one thing to show up at the Game Awards in the next couple of days, my answer to you would be Saros. I think Saros is pretty much a guarantee. And if we go over to the PlayStation blog, just a reminder, they say here Saros launches March 20th on PS5. First look at gameplay from today's State of Play. They say all of the team working on Saros are so proud to be back to share our first look at the extended gameplay, and we are thrilled to announce that Saros is launching March 20th, 2026 on PS5 and will be enhanced for the PS5 Pro. This gameplay that we've shown is captured on PS5 at 60 frames per second using Unreal Engine 5 and is still a work in progress, so expect tweaks, fixes, and upgrades when you're playing Saros on PS5 or enhanced for the Pro in 2026. For the extended gameplay reveal, we wanted to establish the world and story and then focus purely on our deep third-person action and how we take things to the next level with Saros. They say the events of Saros take place on Carcosa, a shape-shifting hostile alien planet, one that changes on every death and offers a wide variety of environments and enemies for you to encounter. In this gameplay first look, we see our protagonist, Arjun, who is exploring the planet as a total eclipse nears. Along the way, he finds Nitya, I guess I'm saying that correctly, one of our ensemble cast and key characters. The stunning environment Arjun explores is that of a lost ancient civilization fueled by the twisted enlightenment of the eclipse. This is just one of the biomes our amazing team on Saros are creating. And again, we are referring to the gameplay that was revealed by Housemarque. But they continue here saying, for our first look at gameplay, we wanted to show real and unedited action gameplay from Saros, and then layer by layer detail some of the new elements we've added on top of Returnal's award-winning third-person action. Our goal with these new elements has been to add more depth to our gameplay by adding a wider variety of tools. Arjun's solitary advanced combat suit allows him to dash, melee, jump, and more. At the start of every run, you will select your loadout from a mix of solitary human weaponry and Carcosian alien weaponry. In the video, Arjun is using the solitary phosphorus shotgun to defend himself and melt the hostile machines housed in the lost ancient city. As you can see from our extended gameplay, you can expect spectacular bullet patterns from enemies and brutal weapons to use which fuel the sci-fi power fantasy. They say let's talk about Arjun's unique abilities. Firstly, we have the solitary shield, activated by holding R1. In Saros, you can run into the hostile projectiles, absorbing their energy to defend yourself. Once absorbed, you can hit back hard with your Carcosian power weapon. The second unique ability allows you to charge up the weapon with energy harvested from hostile projectiles by pulling the L2 adaptive trigger fully down, then discharging this explosive energy at enemies with R2. Power weapons transform Arjun's right arm into an eclipse-fueled weapon, corrupting him in the process. This gives him an alternate and customizable way to deal devastating damage to hostiles. So I'm paying attention to when they say corrupting him in the process. That's fascinating to me. I wonder what that's going to mean for the story side here. But they say storytelling in Carcosa. We also wanted to highlight how we are expanding our storytelling in Saros, along with grounded voiceover, stunning cinematics, haunting audio logs, and conversations with our ensemble cast of NPCs. There are also solitary holograms detailing what happened on Carcosa as you explore. If you choose to collect them, they are vital to discover what happened on this hostile planet. There's also more surreal and mysterious storytelling sequences, but we will share more with you about these moments ahead. The final element we highlight is the second chance ability. On death, Arjun has the ability, once discovered, to use Eclipse Corruption energy to rise back up on your first death. This is one small part of the permanent progression systems we've added in Saros, which will allow you to always come back stronger after each death. These systems include the ability to upgrade your solitary advanced combat suit and abilities if you choose to do so. We are super proud of how Saros plays and cannot wait for you to experience it. Saros has been built by a dream team of collaborators. For this PlayStation blog post, we wanted to shout out all of our superb PlayStation Studio partners, including XDev, Nixxes, PlayStation Studios Creative Arts Team, and many more. They say Nixxes are working closely with Housemarque's creative Housemarque's creative gameplay, art, and production leadership on key elements of the art and gameplay in Saros. They have been an amazing collaborator, and you can see their stunning work in the first gameplay look, which this is interesting because we're seeing Nixxes really start to kind of get much more deeply involved with actual development of the entire game and not just necessarily doing port work. They continue by saying, after our award-winning collaboration on Returnal, PlayStation Studios Creative Arts are also back working with the team at Housemarque. The sound and music you hear in this reveal is the result of the continued collaboration, and we are building something exceptional together. Finally, last but not least, the dark electronic meets drone metal score featured in this gameplay showcase and in our earlier cinematic announcement was composed by the fantastic and two-time Grammy award-winning Sam Slater. His past work includes collaborations on the acclaimed Chernobyl and Joker, as well as being part of the team behind the score for the cult film Mandy. Expect a deep dive into our musical score and Sam's process as we get closer to launch. We set out to create a bold and innovative score unique to any medium today. In the future, we'll be sharing more information about the mysteries, the monsters, and moving story included in our plot, ensemble cast of NPCs, and the lost off-world colony of Carcosia you will experience. Wishlist Saros now. So I know there's a lot to go over, but it's a pretty, I would say, come on, Wes. It was a pretty all-encapsulating rundown of everything we pretty much have been told about Saros so far. And they're really putting an emphasis on the score. And I want to mention this briefly because we know that at the Game Awards, there's usually a big emphasis put on music. We know that there's always musical guests. I do wonder if there might be something regarding Saros and the score and the music of this game at the Game Awards. Just something I'm kind of speculating. And Digital Dude 27 with a $2 chat says, what if Injustice 3 gets revealed? Injustice 3 would be a pretty good reveal. I think we heard from certain cast members from previous Injustice games that they were working together and recording together again, and everybody pretty much assumed like, oh, they're working on Injustice 3. Pretty sure Injustice 3 was confirmed a while ago, and in a general sense that it's something they're working on. So that could be a big reveal at the Game Awards, certainly. And I'd welcome it. I like the Injustice games. And yeah, when it comes to Saros, I think it is going to overall be more accessible. They talk about their approach to permanent upgrades. This was something that I think filtered a lot of people out with Returnal. Returnal was a great game, but it was also a very challenging game. It was a game that if you were not used to losing everything after you die and starting over again with a completely new run, it could be really difficult to kind of overcome that if it's just something, again, that you're not familiar with and not used to, or you just simply don't like it, right? A lot of people don't like the idea of not making some kind of constant progress. Now, there were certain aspects of Returnal that I believe were permanent upgrades, but if I recall correctly, I think it was just with weapons to a degree. But even then, I think it went over a lot of people's heads. It didn't really feel like they were making actual meaningful progress. In Saros, it seemed like it's going to be the way that they're talking about it. They're making it sound like every run you do, you're going to be. They didn't say you're going to be getting like experience points and able to like level things up, but they almost talk about it as if that's kind of what you're going to be doing, where every run you're going to be building towards something and progressing towards something. So if you are really struggling and you're stuck, you can potentially like kind of grind your way out of that situation if you can't overcome it through sheer skill. And I think that's actually going to be pretty welcome, because while I don't mind the approach that Returnal took, where it's like there's no grinding your way out of it, you just have to figure it out. You have to, quote unquote, get good, right? I don't mind that. But I do think if they want to have a better chance of having a game like Saros appeal to a wider audience in the name of, we want it to sell better, we want it to just be an overall more talked about game. I think giving that alternative option where, look, if you're really struggling with this, just keep grinding. You'll be able to overcome it eventually through the grind. I don't mind that. You can even do that in the Souls games, in Dark Souls and Elden Ring. If you really want to, it can be a painful process, but you can just grind through that experience, level up your character to no end, and just kind of overpower yourself, I guess you could say, or overlevel yourself. That is a viable option in order to overcome some of the challenges. So I think introducing something like that into Saros would actually be a good idea. I'm also really interested in what they're talking about with the story of Saros, where they're talking about how they have NPCs now. And this is going to be really different from something like Returnal, because Returnal, I'm not going to spoil the story, and it's something that I would definitely recommend if you're looking for a more unique and interesting and somewhat obtuse way to tell a story. But Returnal had a very unique, if not unique, I guess the appropriate word would be memorable twist, in that when you find out what's actually going on, it changes your entire perception of the game as a whole. And again, without spoiling anything, I'm paying close attention to what they're talking about when it comes to building up corruption as Arjun, right? Like you can like build up this energy, and it can be used as like a devastating weapon towards the enemies, but it corrupts you or something, or causes some type of corruption. It's really interesting to me, because I think I guess I'm just trying to say, I think there's something deeper at the core here that is maybe being hinted at through these different gameplay mechanics and the different things we're seeing. And again, I don't want to spoil anything, because I know that there are some people who maybe are going to want to play, they're going to want to play Returnal for the first time, maybe before they play Saros. But really interested in the fact that they're going to have NPCs now. This tells me that there's going to be a more in-depth story. Like, again, with Returnal, you had to kind of figure everything out, and even then, you didn't really get super clear answers. Things were kind of left open and somewhat vague. I wonder if they're going to try to tell a more complete story, where it's like you're not going to have to just assume everything, or not every single thing is going to be left up to interpretation. Maybe they will facilitate that through having different NPCs. But yeah, I think that there's definitely something going on here on a deeper level with the story, that if you played Returnal, you're probably picking up on that as well. And they can't really reveal too much, I would assume, because if they do it, it'll risk spoiling certain things. But yeah, man, everything about Saros, frankly, sounds great. It really sounds like Housemarque is doing it pretty much is a spiritual successor to Returnal. It's not a direct sequel. It's not literally Returnal 2. But when you look at the gameplay, it's like, yeah, this looks like Returnal. And it just tells me that they're maybe trying to step up their game. You know, they're trying to step up their game a little bit. Are we supposed to figure out what's going on in Returnal? Well, that's the thing. I think with Returnal, it's one of these things where it's completely okay if you are not interested in the story that they're trying to tell, because the story is not necessarily the thing that's front and center. Returnal is very much a gameplay-driven type of experience, and I think that with Saros, it's going to be the exact same thing. But at the same time, if you do choose to pay attention to the story that's being told in Returnal, and, you know, I remember when I beat the game and I got to the end of it, I was like, wait. I looked deeper into it. I was watching a couple of videos that people made, theory videos and all this stuff, and I'm like, interesting. Like, it's interesting to me how if you walk away from it, you can interpret it a few different ways. And no matter what, though, when you get to the end of the game, you start to realize, like, oh, okay, this is like, it's just, again, there's an interesting twist. And now when I look at Saros, I just can't help but assume that there's some type of twist here. Now, what would be interesting, thank you, Chris. You're saying on your YouTube recap, you're in the top 0.1% viewers of my channel. Thank you, Chris. I appreciate that. You're saying you watch all my videos. Good stuff, man. I do think that they could pull a twist in the opposite direction, where when you're playing Saros, you're waiting to find something out about the story, like, oh, there's going to be some kind of big moment that really changes everything up and how you see everything, and that actually never happens. It's difficult to talk about without spoiling it, but we'll see when we get there. But what they're laying out right now, I have a feeling that there's something very interesting there at the core of the story that they're going to try to tell. But everything about it, I mean, they're really flexing how it's interesting. There's so many other PlayStation studios working with them on this title. You have Nixxes, you have the creative arts team, and there just seems to be a lot of collaboration going on with Saros as well. So I think when you look at this, I get a general sense that this game's going to be a little bit bigger than Returnal. Not like vastly bigger. I don't think it's going to be like a AA to AAA game. I think Returnal was a AAA game, and I think Saros is also going to be a AAA game. But maybe in just the sense of the overall scale and scope, I do think it will be bigger, right? Not just for the sake of it, but meaningfully bigger. That's kind of why I think they're acknowledging the fact that they have other teams that they're now collaborating with. Because Housemarque is not the biggest studio in the world. I think they're like 100 developers, give or take. If they are more than 100 developers, it's not much more than 100, but they might be less than 100. How do you see YouTube recap? Click on your profile, the U section, and it should be near your history. Yeah, I didn't get the email for that either. But yeah, I wanted to take a little bit to talk about Saros because, again, we have the Game Awards coming up, and naturally, I think PlayStation fans are going to be wondering what Sony's going to show up at the Game Awards with. And now that we have this acknowledgement that it's been rated in Taiwan and we're hearing about different pre-order versions, I think it is safe to say we're going to get our I guess it would be the third trailer for Saros, and we're going to get the pre-orders. And I wonder if they're going to do like a collector's edition. That didn't say anything about that. It just said the standard and the digital deluxe, so that might be all we get. But now, as to whether or not Saros will be the only thing that Sony shows at the Game Awards, I doubt it. I would be a little bit surprised by that. It is possible, though. It is possible that the only thing Sony's actually going to show up with is a Saros trailer, which, I'll take that. I think the focus should be on Saros. This game is coming very soon. It was quite surprising when we got this gameplay reveal in September. It was quite surprising to find out that it's coming out March 20th. I'm like, oh, okay. I thought it was going to be a little bit later in 2026, but I'm ready for it. So there you go. That is what we have to say about Saros today, guys. And make sure you do me a favor. Again, hit that like button if you're enjoying the stream. We're going to move on to the next topic. Could we get a Phantom Blade Zero demo shadow drop? Yeah, that would be a good one. Phantom Blade Zero is confirmed to be at the Game Awards, and they did say they're going to give us a release date. So if they want to take it to the next level and shadow drop a demo, that would be very exciting. They've had I think a few different demos that were playable at different events that they would show up at. And people were always kind of wondering, like, well, are we going to get like a playable demo that we can download for ourselves and try it out? I mean, all the feedback that I've heard from these demos from Phantom Blade Zero have been positive. So I think we could. Yeah, I think there's a real possibility. All right, we're going to move on to the next topic here. Again, guys, this stream might be a little bit shorter today. I'm trying something a little bit different out. I hope you don't mind. But now we're going to talk about Physint. Okay, so for those who are unaware, although I'm sure most of you are, Physint is the next big game from Kojima Productions that's being made in collaboration with PlayStation Studios. And everything we know about this game, essentially, is it's Kojima returning to tactical espionage action. And it seems as though it's going to end up being a kind of spiritual successor to the Metal Gear Solid franchise. Obviously, I don't need to tell you guys that Kojima is known for Metal Gear Solid. We all know this. But there was always this kind of lingering question where would Kojima ever go back and make another game similar to Metal Gear Solid? Or is he completely done with it? Because when we got Death Stranding 1, and even though Death Stranding 2 is more like the Phantom Pain, Metal Gear Solid 5, the Phantom Pain, than Death Stranding 1 ever was, it's still pretty much, in many ways, nothing like Metal Gear Solid. It's fundamentally a very different experience. But there are inspirations there. And naturally, people want to see Kojima keep making games that are similar to Metal Gear Solid, because even when he was working with Konami, people were always asking him to just make the next Metal Gear. And he always kind of talked about how he wanted to be done with Metal Gear after the second or third or fourth game. Like, he always kind of wanted to be done with it but he clearly enjoys the franchise, and he obviously wanted to keep making it, but he felt, I guess, a certain obligation to do so. And so it's natural that once he departed Konami, made games like Death Stranding, and we know he's working on OD, which is a horror game, people are naturally going to think to themselves, well, maybe he really is done. He doesn't want to make anything like that. But then we saw that announcement, I think it was in January of 2024 at the State of Play. It was the closing announcement where you have Herman Hulst and Hideo Kojima announcing another collaboration, another partnership, a renewal of their partnership. And the big thing about the discussion was Kojima emphasizing that, like, he's been in the industry for like 40 years now, and he wants to, the way he kind of phrased it and the way he talked about it is he wants to make like one last like stealth action game to kind of take everything he's learned in his 40 years of being a game director and being a game developer, and he wants to bring it all together for like one final, this is it, this is what it's all been building to type of moment. And it sounds really exciting when he talks about it that way, because the Metal Gear Solid games are amazing, and you try to think to yourself, like, what could a Metal Gear Solid 6 possibly be like at this point? And I think the closest thing we're going to get to that, assuming Konami doesn't actually make a Metal Gear Solid 6 themselves, the closest thing we might get to that is Physint. Yeah, exactly. He called it the culmination of his life's work, which is, for somebody like Hideo Kojima, considering how long he's been in the industry and how influential he's been, I mean, that's quite the, quite the game that he's going to be working on. But when it comes to the new information, it's nothing like too substantial here, but still something that I think is worth reporting. I came across this from Genki Japan. He says Hideo Kojima jokes that since Physint is a stealth game he can make while sleeping, he says because it's a stealth game he can make it while he's sleeping, but he says it will have new gimmicks and it will attempt to blur the lines between games and film. As a Physint, I don't know why I'm struggling to read this. He says, as for Physint, since it's an espionage game, I can make it even while I'm sleeping. For example, there is a soldier who infiltrates. If they are spotted by the enemy, they are attacked. When taking out the enemy one by one, you use stealth. No matter how it plays out, it becomes fun and can be easy to make. But there's still also a battle against that. This work will include new gimmicks and also take on the challenge to blur the lines between film and video games. We're thinking of working with film people, not only in terms of the cast, but also the staff. But I do wonder how it will turn out. Times are changing quickly these days, so the social structures and themes that I'm trying to depict in the game might actually come sooner in reality. So there's like one really major thing here that I think he kind of revealed. We know when he announced Physint, we know that him and Herman Hulst made it clear that they're trying to blur the lines once again. And I find this fascinating simply because it's like, well, when you look at Metal Gear Solid 1, that's what people see. That's what people see. They see a blending of, oh man, like a super cinematic game that we've never really seen something like this before. We've never experienced a game that's this cinematic, but also still very much a game, right? That's kind of what Kojima brought to the table with MGS1, and he's iterated on that ever since and improved it and refined it. So I do find it interesting that he's talking about this like he's going to do that again. He's going to do what he did for MGS1 with Physint. And I'm not sure how you do that at this point, but he's really putting that emphasis on there, He's really making it sound like, listen, this is going to be different. But the one interesting thing he really says is how they're thinking about bringing in movie staff. And that's definitely different. And he does say how he's not sure how that's going to turn out. He says, I'm not sure how that's going to turn out. And that is, I don't know if I should be concerned about that, but like, I just don't know how far it's being taken that he wants to make a movie game. Yeah, I don't know if he means like movie writers or I don't know exactly what he means by staff, but it's just really interesting to me that he's seemingly trying to find a way to take this whole idea of we're blending movies and film and video games into one thing. I mean, when they did that announcement, they kind of zoomed out. They were in like the Columbia Pictures lot. I'm like, okay, this is interesting. I wonder. I mean, I really wonder like how this is going to be handled. I would assume they're going to be using the Decima engine. That's my. I mean, I'm not sure what other engine they would use. But didn't we try that in the 90s? I'm not sure. Maybe we did. Yeah. Can't wait for Kojima to troll everyone. He'll make a stealth game, but it'll be nothing like MGS. And that'll be intentional by him. I mean, I would be okay with that. I would be okay with Kojima kind of, and Sony for that matter, leveraging like, hey, it's the Metal Gear Solid guy. He's making another Metal Gear stealth game, you know, or a game that's like Metal Gear. You know? But then it's like, oh yeah, no, it is stealth, it is espionage, but it's nothing like that. Jay Shaka, are you talking to me? Or somebody in the chat? Hold on, let me readjust the mic. Oh, okay. Sometimes I can't tell. I'm just like looking at the chat. I'm like, wait, what did I do? But yeah, I mean, he's still not revealing anything major about Physint. I think it's going to be a long time. No, it's all good, Irfan. It's going to be a long time until we see, I think, anything meaningful from Physint. But until then, we're just going to have to, wait and just listen to what he's saying. And wait, why are multiple people telling me to ban the word woke? Did I miss something? Is Physint going to be woke? Yeah, I mean, that's another thing too, Ray. This game, Physint, is going to be a PlayStation 6 game. It's going to be a PlayStation 6 game, and so this idea of trying to reach a new level of, like a new level of visual fidelity that really makes people think like this looks like genuinely like real life. Like if I was watching a cutscene of this game, it just looks like it's a movie. Who are you referring to, Shaco, in terms of mod ship? Garrett says, I am for banning the word woke. Well, I try not to just ban words, Only because it's like, I would just like people to think like just use it when it seems appropriate, I guess. But yeah, I kind of get where you're coming from. It feels like that's one of those words that has lost most, if not all, of its meaning. People overuse certain words these days. Oh yeah, because you're saying there's some new mods. Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't know. I mean, do I have too many mods? Do I not have enough? I'm not sure. It's been okay. It's been okay so far. We've been good. Are they still using Decima? Well, that's the question we don't have an answer to when it comes to Physint. A lot of people are assuming that we're going to get the next version of Decima, and we know that Kojima just recently paid a visit to Guerrilla Games with Herman Hulst. So I think, yeah, there's a really good chance, probably a 80% chance, I would say, 80% chance that they're going to use the next version of the Decima engine for Physint. I don't see why they wouldn't. The only reason I could see them choosing not to use Decima is if for some reason some of the the type of game they're trying to make, whether it be like linear or open world or whatever they're trying to do, it's just like for some reason Decima's not. It's giving them a hard time or something. But we know that Decima is apparently a really great engine to work with, and Kojima Productions have only had good things to say about it. But we do know they're also working with Unreal Engine 5. So it's possible. It's possible that they could be using a different engine. I'm all for them just using whatever engine is going to get them the best results. I think that's all that matters. Truly. Whiskey Gaming's like, I'm just trying to talk about Physint, man. What's going on? Yeah. The Fox, that would be so funny. Sony works with, or Sony gets in contact with Konami. And you're like, listen, can we license the Fox engine? Can we just buy the Fox engine from you? And then they give it to Kojima. The Fox engine was awesome. The Fox engine was something that Kojima Productions put a lot of time and effort in. I mean, they took years to develop that engine, and we only got to see them use it on Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain. And that was disappointing, man. That was disappointing because it had so much potential and it was such an awesome engine. But then again, you see what Kojima Productions ended up doing with Decima, and it's like, I guess it worked out okay. I guess it's all right. Would I rather Physint be linear or wide linear or just open world? I mean, it's a tough one because I think if I had to choose, I would want it to be wide linear. As much as I enjoyed the open world of MGS5, I'm used to Metal Gear being more linear or wide linear. Or I'm used to the entirety of the Metal Gear Solid series being more like that. I feel like going, I don't know, but it really just comes down to how Kojima wants to design it. I trust whatever he wants to do will be the best option. And Corey Landiga comes in. He drops 5 member gifts for you guys. Mr. Landiga, thank you so much for that, my friend. We know why he does it. Boss is on the other side of the room, though. Appreciate that, man.
I'm no hero. Never was.
Yo, boss recognizes that soundbite now. He just jumped up when he heard that soundbite. You think it could be an upgraded version of the Decima engine? I've heard of that game, Black State, but wasn't that kind of like Metal Gear Solid inspired? Stealth open world is way better for being stuck to only a couple of options. Yeah, I do feel like it probably will be open world just for the fact that when you look at the gameplay of Metal Gear Solid 5, I think the reason why I just have a slightly negative look at Metal Gear Solid 5 compared to the other Metal Gear Solid games, it has nothing to do with gameplay. I do think the gameplay of MGS5 is the best because it really is like the best sandbox experience where it's like you're saying you have more options than ever before. Right? Especially compared to the earlier games like Metal Gear Solid 2 or even 3. But I feel like at the same time with Metal Gear Solid 5 specifically, Kojima felt like he had to tell the story in a different type of way. And I think it was because he got a lot of criticism for how overboard maybe he went with Metal Gear Solid 4, where it was like, we're going to have cutscenes that are over an hour long, which I admit is kind of overdoing it. I loved it, though. It was pretty awesome. And I think he took that criticism to heart and basically was like, okay, I have to do the opposite now with MGS5. I got to make sure none of the cutscenes are too long. And if you want all that extra info dumped on you, you're going to get it through cassette tapes, which isn't even that bad. But it just, for me, it felt different, And to be fair, I feel like the whole overall story of MGS5, there was just something about it where like the twist and everything, it didn't land for me the same way that a lot of the other Metal Gear Solid games did. But looking back on it, a lot of it was really good. I think I was just a little bit too harsh on it because I think my expectations were in some cases like unrealistically high for the story. But yeah, the more I think about it, going for an open world type experience, that's probably the way to go at this point. Unless he has a really distinct vision of like, no, this game has to be linear for reason A, B, C, and D. And it could be that, but he's done MGS5, Death Stranding 1, Death Stranding 2. These are all open world games. It would certainly be fascinating if he made the decision to just go back to a more linear type game. But I would be open to anything at this point, to be honest. I'm just really happy to see that he's... I mean, I would love to see Death Stranding 3, but a part of me is very happy to see that he's kind of going in this direction where he wants to kind of go back to the roots a little bit, going back to Metal Gear. Again, I don't think it's going to be exactly like it. I think it's going to be very different in many ways, but there will, I think, still be that DNA. Like here is a Hideo Kojima directed and Kojima Productions developed stealth action video game. I think that's what people wanted Death Stranding to be, and it just wasn't. Death Stranding, at the heart of it, is a delivery game. It is. It is a game about delivering packages. Everything else around that, any action, any stealth, I don't want to say it's auxiliary, but it's not the main purpose of the game. The main purpose of the game is you are to deliver this package from point A to point B. I'm looking forward to Kojima getting back to just the overall design philosophy of your main objective is to sneak from point A to B without being detected. And yes, it's also about connecting. Exactly. And I love that. I love that Kojima's just like, the first game I want to make now that I'm free from the shackles of Konami. How about a delivery simulator? A FedEx game. Only Kojima. But it was done really well. I mean, Death Stranding 2, like I said, is still my game of the year. I say that as if there's another game that's going to come in the next week that's going to change my mind on that. But yeah, man, I just thought it was interesting to get a little bit of info about Physint. And I'm kind of desperate at this point to hear more about it. I'm curious to see or hear about what else he's planning on doing with this game. I think the big thing we want to know is who's the actor on the cover. I don't know. I think this game might progress a little bit quicker than we think. He seems to be making good progress with it. Maybe that's just wishful thinking. Perfect Image, you're saying you would want Watch Dogs to come back? They were right with AI and DedSec. I forget about Watch Dogs sometimes, man. I forget that that's a game series. I think Sony's very happy to continue to fund projects from Kojima, man. I will say when you listen to the video or the recording that they did with Herman Hulst and Kojima did say that Herman was the one that convinced him to do this. So this is why I'm saying, like, people are very critical towards Herman Hulst, myself included. But Herman, he seemingly knows some stuff, and apparently when he was talking to Kojima and brainstorming ideas of, like, what could we pitch as, the next big game that you're going to work on in collaboration with PlayStation. And the way Kojima talked about it, he made it seem like Herman was the one that convinced him, like, you got to go back to your roots, to let's go back to some stealth action. And Kojima was like, yeah. It almost sounds like Herman was the one pitching Kojima here, right? Like convincing him, like, we think you should do this. And I think if that's true, Herman did a big service potentially to the fan base, because there's just, and I'm sure Kojima's well aware, obviously he would know, like, you got Metal Gear fans, bro. Like, people, your largest fan base is here because of Metal Gear Solid, and they want to see you continue to make games more in that vein. Not just like Metal Gear Solid, right? Like, I'm not saying it has to be a one-to-one, it doesn't. But I just think after 2 Death Stranding games, and especially with Death Stranding 2 having so many elements in it that felt like they were pulled right from MGS5, it just feels right. Like, let's do it one last time, you know? And also, I think if you're Kojima, from a business perspective, he does talk about how he views everything from a business perspective, obviously, which he needs to because he's running his own studio, right? I think setting up something like Physint, if that's what, I don't know what the final name of it will be called, that's smart for the long-term health of his studio and thinking about the future where it's like this can be basically the next evolution of the Metal Gear Solid franchise that is owned by Kojima Productions, and you don't have to worry about Konami. I mean, Konami at some point is going to try to make Metal Gear Solid 6. I don't know when that's going to happen, but they're going to do it. And when that day comes, we will have something like Physint to compare it to. I'm assuming a game like Metal Gear Solid 6 would come after Physint. I think Konami's at least going to try to extract as much as they can out of the remakes first. But that day is going to come where they're like, well, we got to go with MGS6 now. That time's come. Either that or we retire the Metal Gear franchise entirely, which they're not going to do that if it's making them money. So that's going to be a really interesting situation, right? To see like what's a Metal Gear Solid 6 from Konami look like without Kojima's involvement whatsoever. And what does Physint end up looking like, knowing that that's in some way, shape, or form a kind of a spiritual successor, right? The only thing I don't like about Kojima now, he's got lazy with the characters. He just hires his friends and actors and is doing the same for this. But I suppose he took Snake from Escape from New York. Yeah, I kind of get what you're saying there, Fox Hunt, because like I'll never forget when it was announced that David Hayter was replaced by Kiefer Sutherland, and people were like, Kojima went Hollywood. And yeah, it was kind of painful to see that because I'm like, bro, how are you going to do David Hayter like that, man? Like, he is Snake. He is Big Boss. In my mind, he always will be. And yeah, I mean, Kojima, I kind of can't blame him, though, because he's done something that I don't really think any other developer in the industry has done. And some people don't like it, and I totally get why they don't like it. And, you know, there are times where I kind of wonder what it would be like if Kojima never did network in that way, right? Like, the biggest thing about Kojima is that I think he realized after he departed Konami or was kicked out of Konami, I think he kind of realized that, you know, I got friends in high places now, and maybe I could take that even further. And he seemingly did. I mean, Sony was his friend. I mean, dude, you had like Mark Cerny, Herman Holst, you know, they were like whining and dining him, and you know, Sony's got huge connections, obviously. So it's like, in a way, I'm sure from Kojima's perspective, it's almost like this is the best thing that ever happened to him, getting kicked out of Konami. And so, yeah, you know, he's got like famous actors and actresses and just famous people constantly stopping by his studio. And I don't know, I guess if you're in that position, it's like, yeah, well, I should probably just talk to these guys and see if any of them want to be in my game. I mean, the idea that with Physint, the main character, so many people believe is going to be Robert Pattinson, it's like, yeah, I kind of, like, if you're Sony, you're probably like, oh, so Kojima, how much is that going to cost? But also, if you're Sony, you're like, then again, we need to make sure we have a good relationship with Kojima. He's, you know, he's important to the PlayStation brand. I do think that. I do think Sony. Come on, let's not kid ourselves. If Sony could acquire Kojima Productions, they would do it in a heartbeat. But Kojima doesn't want that. So I think Sony's very much like, well, let's have as strong of a connection as we can. And I think part of that is like, oh, you want to hire Robert Pattinson for your game? Sure, Kojima. Meanwhile, you get probably like a, I don't know, Sony Bend. They're like, can we hire a famous actor? Like, shut up. Don't you ever ask us that again. Whoosh. Back, Sony Bend. You didn't want to do Days Gone 2? Well, now you suffer. You suffer in that cage. Sorry, I don't know. I just have a weird visualization of how Sony treats their studios. I don't know, man. But No, I don't think Sony rejected OD. I don't think OD was ever pitched. Or actually, you might be right. You might be right about that. Because if I recall, I think OD was originally pitched to. I think the only reason Sony didn't do it was because I don't think they could do it. I think that at the time it was pitched, it was like 2015, 2016. I don't think their cloud infrastructure was. I think Kojima was like, I want to do a cloud game. I think that's where Sony was like, well, I don't know that we're the ones to help facilitate that, Mr. Kojima. But, he talked to Google, and Google was like, we're making a cloud platform. And then it died instantly. And then, it kind of makes sense. Microsoft, they're known for cloud computing. And I think it worked out well. I think the thing that I ultimately think worked out so well is that a couple of years ago when we found out that Kojima was making a game with Xbox, it was kind of viewed as like score one Xbox, baby. Like, we're going to get that exclusive horror game. And yeah, that's how I saw it too. But now if you look at where we are, it's actually, well, this game's going to be everywhere, which is good. That's good for me because it's like, yeah, I would prefer to play that on PlayStation if it's available. I'm assuming it will be. But it's interesting because Kojima seemingly also doesn't, he doesn't know if this is going to be a good game. The way he talks about OD is funny to me because he just, I don't know, he just constantly makes it sound like, I don't know, people might hate this game. Says Hideo Kojima and his team have only ever made great games, but even he is unsure about how OD, the title he's making with Xbox, will turn out. In an interview with Annenweb, which was translated via Automaton, Kojima is asked about his upcoming project now that Death Stranding 2 is out. He says that while the latest trailer may make it look like a traditional horror game, it's actually, quote, something completely different, end quote. He continues, I can't say what it is yet, and I don't know if it will work. We've made games that haven't been done before, like games where you can be found or games where you have to make deliveries, but the system is the same as other games. In the case of OD, Kojima says the developer is attempting to create a different service format from the system. That's in quotes, a different service format from the system. And it could be, quote, quite challenging to make. So he also says, hold on, I have another one here in regards to OD. Apparently, Kojima said that a lot of hints are hidden in the trailer. And if you think about it for a long time, you might be able to figure it out. And I think I kind of, I don't know. What do you guys think about this? I'm not entirely sure. I know a lot of people with OD, they were like, yeah, that's true. That's true. I feel like people look at this trailer and they get the feeling that we're looking at multiple horror experiences made from different directors or different studios, even potentially, or certain, like Kojima Productions is working with different directors for like kind of vignettes, I guess, like episodic type, yeah, cloud-based episodic multi-device. It sounds very strange, and got to give Microsoft credit where they're just like, okay, yeah, sure. I think Microsoft would have let Kojima do literally anything. I think that is what they're doing because I think they're just happy that Kojima is willing to work with them. So everything Kojima has said about this is concerning from a more business-oriented standpoint because he says, yeah, I don't know if this is going to work. I don't know if it's going to be good. I think he even went on record saying this is going to be the type of thing where people are only going to appreciate it 20 years later. And I'm like, interesting. Meanwhile, with Physint, he's like, yeah, I could make that in my sleep. I'm like, all right, well, I mean, OD has my attention. And, we talk about the Game Awards. As much as I would like to see Physint at the Game Awards, that's not going to happen. It's not time. It's not ready. But I think the time to see more OD is actually perfect at the Game Awards. So I'm hoping we'll get another look at that. But everything he's been saying about it is very interesting. Dwayne, what's up, man? Happy Monday to you as well. It's been okay so far. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, we're getting close to Christmas. That's what you should say when you're trying to make a new thing. I remember I watched the video of Kojima before Death Stranding 1's release. He was crying like a baby because he didn't know how the game would turn out. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, he did take the same approach with DS1, like you guys are saying, where it's funny because like when we saw the trailers, the cinematic trailers for the game, everybody was so hyped. Like everybody was hyped. But then when we saw the gameplay, I remember like I saw half the people be like, what's that? What's going on there? And I'll never forget that moment because I could feel it. I could literally feel the shift in real time where people were like, oh, I don't know about that, dude. And I imagine even like some of the executives at Sony were like, oh, wait, Kojima, I thought you were making a horror game. What's going on? Why is Norman Reedus like peeing on was it a mushroom or something? Meanwhile, like Kojima fans are like, it tracks. Curious if it's still Xbox exclusive with all of Xbox developments regarding first party. I doubt it. I highly doubt. I don't even think it was ever meant to be. The way Kojima's talking about it, I'm not sure it was ever going to be exclusive to anything. He's talking about like it's going to be some kind of service or something. It's really bizarre. He had to go to Microsoft for innovation. Sony wants him to make something he's always made. Yeah, well, I think it's because Sony, to be fair, I think Sony and Microsoft have a similar philosophy at this point in time where they both want like major franchise material. You know, they want projects that are going to be able to materialize into long-term money-making franchises. Both Sony and Microsoft want that. And, you know, to give credit to Sony, though, like they did see Death Stranding 1 and 2 through. And I'm not going to lie, man, like Death Stranding 1, when they showed that gameplay and you saw people's reactions, it's like, oh, man, okay, it's understandable why Kojima was feeling kind of nervous. So Sony did take their chance, but I think it's fair at this point. I think, you know, for example, if OD comes out and like mega flops or something, it's like I'm not saying it will and I don't want it to, but let's just say it's actually like something really, it's like a train wreck. It's just like really bad for whatever reason. Or just maybe it just doesn't work. Like there was a good idea, but it just didn't come together. It would be totally fair for Microsoft to be like, Mr. Kojima-san, can you make a normal video game for us now, please? Like, I feel like that'd be totally fair, you know, where it's like, Kojima, you probably should, if you want to keep working with Microsoft and they're willing to fund you, you probably should just make a normal game, like some kind of normal game. But yeah, I think it's kind of fair that Sony is like, all right, listen, we did Death Stranding 1 and 2. We let you hire as many actors and actresses as you wanted. Like, can we make like can we kind of get like a Metal Gear like game? You know, kind of cool for the PS6. And Jim was like, okay, just make sure I can make it a movie. And Herman's like, yeah, okay, yeah, we'll make it a movie as well. We'll do a movie. And honestly, I think Sony wants that because that is what Sony's doing. Like, I think Sony, I guess I'm just trying to say, I think Sony and Kojima's vision aligns right now, where I think you see Kojima getting involved with transmedia stuff, where there was just like a Death Stranding anime and a Death Stranding this and a Death Stranding that. And I think Sony wants to try to do that with Kojima in conjunction with Physint now, where I find it interesting that, like, here's a question I have about the Physint IP as well, is like, we know that Death Stranding, that IP is now owned by Kojima, and I'm assuming that was an agreement that was made between Sony and Kojima like years ago. I wonder if it's going to be the same with Physint, or if maybe there's a slight difference here where I wonder if like Sony wants to be a little bit more in control of something like Physint. We're like, no, we like Kojima, we want to own this one. But see, I don't think so, because I don't think Kojima would agree with that. I think Kojima knows he can make Physint with anybody. So Kojima has that leverage, is what I'm trying to say. Kojima is like one of the few people in the industry where he's in a very specific spot where he can leverage himself. Be like, listen, I can just make a phone call tomorrow and get my next stealth action game greenlit by anybody with unlimited resources, practically. So I think that's why Sony's like, okay, yeah, well, you can own it. What makes you think it'll be good? It's a decade away. I mean, I don't know if it'll be good. I guess it's just the assumption that I have some level of trust in Kojima Productions, you know, in that they... It's just the fact that, you know, I trust that Physint will be at the very least good, only because it's coming from the person who pretty much pioneered stealth action video games. I mean, could he have completely lost his touch? And it's like he puts out Physint, and it's just like, this is like the worst stealth action video game ever made. It's possible, I guess, but I'm not sure anybody would necessarily anticipate that. He won't be able to make a second one. He's too old. Wouldn't be worth Sony owning the IP. Well, don't forget, Kojima did say he left a USB stick with all of his ideas for his team, for if he were to pass away. So they're not going to be left completely in the dark. I'm sure he has ideas on there for Physint 2, 3, 4, and 5. It's like his ideas are, so like just look at Metal Gear Solid 1 through 5, and then just do that again with different names for everything. And they're like, write that down. But yeah, it's going to be exciting to see more OD. It's going to be exciting to get more on Physint, but probably be a while. I will say that final word for now on Physint. It is kind of surprising how much he's been talking about it. I will say, for a game that is apparently like many years away and probably a PlayStation... Well, I think it's safe to say it is a PlayStation 6 game. I am quite surprised at how often he's talking about it. Granted, you know, he's not revealing anything too major, and some of it's just a reiteration of reaffirmation of what we already heard. Still exciting, you know? Yeah, that'll be a strange time, Irfan. Kojima's one of the only game makers that has been in the business since the NES, and Metal Gear's been around since then as well. It is crazy, yeah. I mean, we're kind of seeing... I just saw today that the director of the Tekken series, Harada, I think it is, he's departing Bandai Namco, and I think he's worked on every single Tekken. And I just thought that was interesting. I think he's been there for like 30 years. I'm like, oh, I played every Tekken pretty much. You know, I've been playing Tekken for practically my whole life. So even though it's not like something I really focus on that much, it's interesting. The Boys actor visited Kojima Productions today. Maybe for Physint. Which actor? Which one? Is it the guy who plays Homelander, or is it Butcher? Is it Carl Urban? I didn't see that today. I must have missed that. Because I know Kojima... What's really interesting about that is I know Kojima likes The Boys, and he said he wanted to make like a game for it or something, or like it. So I don't know. The geek... I forget his name. Okay. I know who you're talking about. I don't know. I don't know if he's going to star. Maybe he'll play a role in Physint. People seem pretty convinced that Robert Pattinson... Yeah, Huey. People seem pretty convinced that Robert Pattinson's going to be the lead of Physint. Oh, okay. Jack Quaid. Yeah, you can never tell. You can never tell when some of these actors are visiting, Kojima Productions, like if it's a possible hint at like, oh, you know, I remember when like Keanu Reeves paid a visit to Kojima Productions. It was like, I think Kojima's expressed interest in wanting to work with Keanu Reeves. I still think he should try to get Keanu Reeves in Physint, not necessarily as the main character, but I feel like considering Keanu Reeves is so open to doing video game stuff, and you know he was in Cyberpunk as Johnny Silverhand. I'm like, dude, you got to get Keanu Reeves in a Kojima game before he can't make games anymore. You got to do it at least once. I like Keanu Reeves, so that'd be cool. But we're going to move on to the final topic of the stream, guys. Like I said, today's stream is going to be a shorter one, testing something out, doing something a little bit different. Oh yeah, no, it's going to be packed with Hollywood stars, no doubt. Well, yeah, that's true too. You're saying Robert Pattinson won't be in it. He's got Batman shooting next year, and he picks really indie movies in between. Jack Quaid. He'll be cheaper. Well, Robert Pattinson is seemingly a very, very busy person. Yeah, and they do have the Batman movie coming. So maybe that would be his first pick, but it's like, you know, a lot of times these actors, they would be part of projects, but they can't be due to scheduling conflicts. So, you know. We are going to move on to the final topic, though, and this was not one I was necessarily originally planning on covering, but apparently there was like this extensive interview or new information. How many of you guys are interested in Microsoft Flight Simulator? I believe it launched on PS5 today. I'm going to read something here to you. So, again, we're talking about Microsoft Flight Simulator. I saw this reported by Zubitech. I'm sure it's being reported in other places as well. But it says head of Microsoft Flight Simulator, Jorg Newman, I hope I'm saying his name correctly, said that he actually pitched a PS5 version of Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 early on in its development, but was told no by those who were in charge at Xbox. When Sony eventually asked Microsoft if they'd bring the series over to PlayStation, Xbox finally relented. It was my idea, actually, with Flight Simulator 2020. We came out on PC first in August 2020. 1 year later, we shipped it on Xbox, and we found millions and millions of new fans on Xbox that had never seen the flight sim because they're just not PC gamers. A lot of them thought it was great, and a lot of them stayed. In 2020, it was already 120 gigabytes when we launched as a download. When we were in 2023, I looked at the install numbers, and it was 300 gigabytes. Then we had our content roadmap, and there was so much new stuff that we're doing that we would never be over a terabyte. I said, we need to do something. They said that we would be over a terabyte. He says, we need to do something. So we decided to make Flight Simulator 2024 and had the concept of a thin client. Our client is now 8 gigabytes, and instead of putting everyone on your hard drive and making that download huge, we put everything in the cloud. We spent a lot of time optimizing for PS5 and making sure the controller works great. That made it possible to go to the other platforms, so I proposed, probably 2.5 years ago, to go to PlayStation. It was probably a little bit before its time because I was told no. Then somebody from Sony who grew up with Flight Simulator thought it would be a great addition to the Sony portfolio. They reached out proactively to our president, who then came back to me and said, hey, remember when we talked about the PlayStation thing a year ago? Sony's also interested. I think that really kicked off a whole avalanche of Xbox titles coming to PlayStation. Then we worked on it. It took a while, as we had to obviously finish Flight Simulator 2024, which came out about a year ago. After that, we spent a lot of time optimizing for the PS5 and making sure the controller works great. We also worked on the VR execution. It's not quite there yet, but it's coming. I hired a company I've worked with in the past called Climax Studios. I worked with them on Crackdown and some other games back in the day. I've been at Microsoft for a long time. I talked to the head of Climax, and they have a lot of experience doing PS5 work. So they did a lot of the work. The main difference between the PS5 Standard Edition and the PS5 Pro Edition is the resolution. In Standard, we're doing 2560 by 1440p resolution upscaled to 3840 by 2160. On PS5 Pro, we are at 3200 by 1800, so the resolution is quite a bit higher. It's actually one of the requirements. You need to either have a higher frame rate or resolution. The nature of the game doesn't really allow it to be a constant 60 frames per second. In the worst case, you have an infinitely diverse environment, and you can go 70,000 feet up in the air and land. While we can hit 30 FPS consistently, we cannot hit 60 FPS consistently. So then it became a resolution thing, and our resolution is almost at native 4K. To hit 30 FPS consistently, we can't hit 60 consistently. So then it became a resolution thing. Okay, that for some reason that they typed that twice. Where we are on PlayStation right now, there is only a single device that's not a DualSense. The good news is I get called by the hardware makers and they ask if this is a long-term commitment. For them, it's super important that we don't make a just one-off product and then leave. I always say Flight Simulator is a hobby, and once you go somewhere, you're staying. We made the decision to go expand the user base, so there's quite a few controllers now in development for PlayStation. It'll take some amount of time. The number of people on Xbox that use specialized controllers has increased, and now with PlayStation, I expect it to go similarly. It was there from the beginning. Sony was super clear. They have a very dedicated VR audience that is excited about new VR games, and they were very clear that we would have a lot of support from that audience. Ultimately, VR is all about frame rates and making sure that comfort is there. So the bare minimum you need to hit is 48 frames per second. Ideally, you hit 60 with dual rendering. We have things like foveated rendering, which is basically focusing on where the eye is, and all the smart ways that people have come up with to optimize this. We're actually pretty close, but not 100% there yet. So we're going to spend a few more months optimizing. That's really where the effort is going right now. It's working now. As a matter of fact, I have it sitting right here, and it works. It's fun, and it looks amazing. But it's not quite ready for prime time. We talked about putting it out as a beta feature, use at your own risk kind of thing, but that didn't seem right. Let's just wait a few months and get it right so then people can enjoy it. So I know that was a lot, but that's everything that was said about Flight Simulator coming to PS5. I think one of the more interesting things that we learned here, little bit of insight, just a little bit, into how some of this stuff kind of happened with with the whole idea of Xbox games coming to PlayStation. And it seems like Flight Simulator was one of the earliest games where, I don't know, it's just interesting to me that Sony was like, hey, do you guys want to bring that over? And I don't know who, maybe it would be Matt Booty. I don't know if it's Phil Spencer, but somebody in charge at Xbox originally was like, no. And then when Sony asked, they were like, actually, maybe we just should. And so I do wonder, again, how, I don't know, the way it's being talked about, they almost make it sound like this kind of acted as a bit of a catalyst where, I guess I'm just, where my mind is going is how many times did Sony call Microsoft and they're like, can we get that game too? Do you guys want to just bring all your games? I don't know if Sony was just calling them up and being like, you guys should just bring your games over. I love the idea of Sony really getting in Microsoft's ear and being like, your console's failing. You know where this is headed. Just come on over. We'll get you those sales. We'll make you that money, Microsoft. Just do it. And I don't know, Phil Spencer on the other end of the phone, he's looking at the charts, or he's looking at the sales data of the Xbox, and he's like, yeah, Sony, I'm going to call you back. I got to go call the Flight Simulator team. But yeah, I don't know. It's really cool that they're supporting VR. And we have PlayStation Pete. He says, MBG, has anyone in your chat figured out how to unlock the charms in Yote? It's still glitched. No. PlayStation Pete, I'm sorry, buddy. I haven't seen that. I don't think anybody actually has an answer. And we have a Big MP coming in. He comes in out of nowhere. He drops 5 membership gifts for you guys. So Corey dropped 5 earlier, and now Big MP, 1804, it seems. Dude, what is up with YouTube? They changed everybody's names. They made it so that your YouTube handle, is now what shows up. And I'm like, that's so stupid. It's so bad for live streamers because now you're just seeing different names. Luckily, a lot of the names are the same, but Big MP, thank you for that, buddy. I appreciate it. But yeah, PlayStation Pete, I'm sorry, man. I don't know what the solution to that problem that you're experiencing in Ghost of Yotei is going to be. I don't know. That might be something you have to like look up very specifically and get deeper into. Where is the member goal? Is it? Oh yeah, you know what? Hold on. I was like, wait, am I supposed to be doing something? Oh, and that's for.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
It's for Big MP. Thank you. At least there's no duplicate names out. That's true. That's true. Yeah. I guess there is a small upside, but. And Hellbound comes in. We have another legend, Hellbound 1981. He comes in. He drops 5 more member gifts for you guys. He's keeping the train rolling. Hellbound, thank you so much for that, buddy. Yeah, guys, if you get gifted a membership, make sure you, when you're done here, you go check out some of the members' content. Yeah, I don't, hold on. There we go. Sorry, I'd set that up earlier, but I guess it was still... but yeah, we're at 15 members, so we're 10 away. If we hit 25, we'll give Boss a couple treats. I think he's sleeping right now, so I'll remain calm. We'll see if we hit that goal. I appreciate it. And Irfan, you sent me something about the Game Awards on Twitter. Lara Croft returns at the Game Awards. As just revealed in the Game Awards vote in Fortnite map portal. Tune in Thursday night for a look at the future of one of gaming's most iconic franchises. Oh. Okay. So just it's flat out being confirmed by Jeff that we're going to get the new Tomb Raider revealed. That should be exciting. That should be exciting. Yeah, I think that this game's been in development for a while. I don't know what to expect from it, to be honest. I'm not sure. I'm muting Rich Rod, bro. I'm muting Rich Rod. Rich Rod, I'm only accepting normal chats from now on, bro. Rude. They ruined her. Look again. Hold on. Wait. What do you mean they ruined her? Wait. What do you mean? I'm looking at the silhouette. Is there something? I'm not seeing anything. Yeah, I don't know. I think you're trolling. He's like, trust me, they ruined it. I mean, I don't know. The silhouette looks like I would be able to tell that's Lara Croft, just based off the silhouette. Rich says you didn't play my direct dono. Rich, only normal chats. I gotta clean this place up, man. I gotta be honest, Rich. We gotta clean this place up. No offense. Like, I've identified at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like 5 words you used in that chat. Gotta clean it up. You're saying it brings memberships. That may be true to a small degree, Rich Rod, but I think it also loses viewership. Listen, I'm trying to take control of the channel. I'm taking control back. All right, where we're going to try to keep it gaming, man. Did you beat the Tomb Raider trilogy? No, I played some of it, but I kind of fell off of it for whatever reason. I remember distinctly beating the first game and really enjoying it. The second one I remember playing a little bit of, and then I just kind of, I don't know. Rich Rod is fine in small increments, but he needs to chill. Well, here's the big thing, Rich Rod. And I guess this is just a general message to communicate. Rich Rod says he's going on strike. Well, hey, Rich, listen, you do what you got to do, man. All right? I'm not going to... You're still welcome. And you're still allowed to message. But the whole thing is, the problem with your messages is they're very aggressive and they're framed like, I'm trying to get away from this idea of like MBG's channel is just a complete fanboy riddled channel where all we do is hate on Xbox constantly. Because the reality is we're not that. Like, do some people still bust Xbox's balls? Yes. Do we still do it from time to time? When it is necessary. But, you know, it's not the thing it's like not a thing really anymore. And there are unfortunately certain people where they look for that. You know what I mean? It's like they want to continue to believe that that's what, I'm not speaking for anybody else's YouTube channel, but they want to believe that that's what this channel is and that's all we do. And it's like, it's really not. It's really not. You know, like we mostly just talk about, I mean, we still talk about Microsoft when we have to, but we mostly just talk about games and the different things that are happening in the gaming industry. And I think that when people see stuff like that, for them, it's enough of an excuse to continue to propagate a certain perception that's just false. And that's all it is, man. Because, I mean, I don't actually, I'm going to be honest, Rich Rod, I don't know if you're joking. I'm going to assume you're joking. And I could tell a lot of times when people are just messing around, but the internet's a funny place, and people act very strange on it. But, yeah, I'm taking back control. I think it'll be for the best. That's so true, Rich. You're also your timing is the worst, bro. Rich Rod's timing is the worst because Garrett said Rich Rod only shows up at the worst times and never when we need him. It's so true. When we are going off the rails, Rich is nowhere to be found. When we're trying to be totally like chill and locked in, he's coming in and I got like 6 direct donos. Wait until you hear him, bro. In the craziest songs. Fox Hunt. I'm just going to call you Fox Hunt now. He's Boobs PR. Bob's PR. Sorry, I just remembered a video I saw a while ago. Nice Bob's. Are we not allowed to talk about Bob's? You absolutely can. We're not against that. But again, I don't want it to get too off the rails. Rich Rod says I'm bringing the place down now. Rich, why? This could be a good thing, man. You know, Rich could come in here and he could be like, "Hey, man, did you hear about?" Well, maybe not what Kojima said, but did you hear about Saros, the upcoming first-party PlayStation exclusive Saros, and how pre-orders are going to be live soon, man? MBG, what are your thoughts on that? Are you excited for Saros? He could come in and he could leave a direct donation and just here are 3 things I hope to see at the Game Awards, MBG. What do you think? He could do this. He could talk about that canceled Project Ooze game or whatever. Rich, there's a better way, man. He's having his training day moment. Well, I still appreciate you, Rich. I still appreciate you. But it's fine. Yeah, so Mr. B, you're asking if I saw the London studio game trailer. We did react to that trailer. Not last stream. I think it was the stream before. There was like a 10 or 15-minute section where I reacted to it and talked about it. But my general thoughts on it are, I can understand why Sony canceled it and decided not to go through with it, but I think there could be potential. Like I'm not rooting against the studio. I feel bad that, London studio got shut down and their project was canceled. So the fact that they're able to make it work and bring it to market, I hope it can do something, but I can't say that the game really spoke to me in a meaningful way. Maybe I would give it, I don't know, if it's free to play, maybe I would try it or something, but I'm not sure. Is Lost Soulside any good? I haven't heard good things about Lost Soulside. No. Oh, hold on, Rich. We got a normal chat from Rich Rod. Or a half normal chat. Didn't London Studios get canceled? Oh, like I'm going to get all you mofos canceled. Okay, well, we're making progress, Rich. It was almost normal. It was an almost normal chat. Yes, Rich. London Studios their project did get canceled, and unfortunately they got shut down. And I think they were Sony's oldest studio too, which is kind of depressing when you think about it. Like, damn, dude, there was really nothing else they could have worked on. I mean, you would think that they even, like, maybe they would even, like, I don't know, make them a support studio at the very least or something. All right, look, Rich, I'll do it. Listen, I'll read half of your chat. I'm not reading the second. The first part of your chat, I think it's a little bit unhinged. I think there are people who would agree with you. But the second part of your chat, I'm going to do this in an effort so we can facilitate a better direction, okay? Because the second part of your chat, it's unnecessary. The first part of it says, F Xbox, we don't need your games, just die, you killed gaming. It's aggressive. I do think some people would agree. But that's fine. You're allowed to chat that, okay? Like, there's nothing there that, if you said that about PlayStation, I would still read it. I would just say I disagree. Thank you for the donation. The second part, though, we got to cut that out. That's where it gets taken too far. Last I heard, Lost Soulside flopped. It was going for $20 along with Mindsets and Black Friday. I mean, dude, I was a little bit surprised to see how bad it seemingly flopped, but I don't know. Sony was committed to the game for one reason or another. They're like, we are committed to this. We're not abandoning it. We're not canceling it for whatever reason. And I don't know if they should have, but counseling really helped me deal with my anger issues. That's what Gavin says. Yeah, I haven't seen it for $20 yet. I think I've seen it for like 40, but I don't know. I don't know about $20. You think it would be though? Pretty sure you were just on camera, by the way. Well, just because I'm not sure if it's... Oh yeah, GameFly. GameFly is pretty known to have they're pretty. I would say GameFly, if you're into buying physical, like as long as you're okay with them being opened, they sell games for really cheap. I mean, like really cheap. You got to look around though. You got to compare the prices. But there have been times where I was perusing GameFly's physical PS5 bargain bin or whatever, and these are games that they just have to kind of offload. They're games that they buy in bulk, I suppose, and they rent them out, and then people send them back, and then eventually like people just stop looking to rent certain games. And so they try to like sell them and I guess get any money back on them that they can. So if you're somebody who still collects physical PS5 games, again, as long as you're okay with them being opened, they're always in like pretty much brand new condition where it just doesn't have like the cellophane wrap on them. It might be worth it. It might be worth looking into it sometimes because, again, I found some games for like really cheap compared to where they're being sold everywhere else. Paul Smith says, Rich Rod, why bother donating if your messages aren't welcome? Save your money. Well, it's like I said, his messages are welcome, but it's just some of the things he says. It's like I don't have beef with people, man. I don't. And if I keep welcoming certain messages that make it seem like I have beef with people, it's like at some point it's like, well, you're saying you got beef with people. Yeah, I still try to stick with physical games. I saw somebody in my video yesterday. They were like, well, is Sony, is the PS6 still going to have physical video games? And I'm like, well, Tom Henderson, he reported that the PS6 is going to ship with a disk drive. So I think there's a really good chance that, yeah, we're going to have physical PS6 games next generation. We don't have like the official confirmation, but I don't think you're going to see Sony drop physical games. Not yet. I think it's too soon. I think they need to have at least one more generation. I think you could see the support for physical games dwindle more and more. But yeah. All right, where are we at time-wise? All right, guys, we're going to go for like a couple more minutes here before we wrap up. Again, I'm trying something a little bit different today, keeping it on the shorter side. There's really not a whole lot to talk about right now, but there were just enough things to maybe justify a shorter stream. So if you want to drop any more support before we wrap up, you got a couple more minutes, and we'll head out. MBG, the update was supposed to fix things. Which update? The future's looking grim for physical games. Steam Machine and the next Xbox are digital only. The Nintendo Switch 2 is selling empty carts. The last one supporting physical format is PlayStation. Yeah. I was thinking about that too, and I've always said I think Sony should lean into that as a strength. I think as pretty much everybody else is beginning to walk away from physical media completely or alter it to where it doesn't really feel the same or just isn't the same, I think Sony should try to continue to lean into, at least for the PlayStation 6 generation, hey, we still support it. That might be a difference maker for, well, not the majority of people, but at least a group of people. And I don't know, on the flip side of that, Sony, they have more incentive than ever, I would say, to go digital. They really do. But I think Sony's view of it is they don't need to do anything. It will just happen on its own. It's been happening on its own. And I think that they'll just let it ride out and play out for the PS6 generation. And then by that, like, who knows where we're going to be by the end of that. If the PS6 generation starts in 2027 and ends like 2035 or 2036 or something, I mean, you could maybe imagine in 2035 or 2036, by that point, 95% or 98% of people are buying their games digitally. I could see that being a reality. It'd be an unfortunate one, but that is the direction we're headed in, slowly but surely. Would the PS6 have Steam on it? No, I've seen some people talking about this, and I really don't. I mean, I feel like people just have to kind of use a little bit of common sense, you know? I'll put it to you this way. If Sony decides to put Steam on the PlayStation 6, I would... that would be quite literally the most shocking move that Sony has ever made. That indicates they are completely transforming their business model in gaming. Like from top to bottom. They are completely transforming it. So I'm not anticipating it, but I don't know. Maybe Hideaki Nishino, he's crazy, man. He's crazy. 3 days left till the Game Awards. Yeah, we're almost there. So far, not many leaks, which I think is maybe good. Job listing confirms Sony's live service title Fair Games is powered by Unreal Engine 5. Why am I seeing a leak and a rumor about Fair Games in 2025, man? Like, what is going on with this game? Paramount confirms a $108.4 billion counteroffer for Warner Brothers Discovery. What? Hold on now. In their latest integrated report, Capcom says they intend to revitalize Act Attorney, Devil May Cry, and Mega Man with new releases, remakes, and ports. Damn. All right. Yo, that's crazy about Paramount. What the hell? They're really trying to yeah, they're attempting a hostile takeover. Dude, $108 billion. What are we even doing here? I can't even fathom $108 billion. Well, do you think it's going to work now, or do you think this is going to interfere? Bloomberg is also reporting that Netflix considered buying EA, Fox, and Disney before they decided towards Warner Brothers. Well, I guess Netflix is going to end up buying somebody eventually. They can't get EA now. That would have so that's really interesting to me if that's true. If Netflix was actually interested in buying EA, that means that they are much more interested in gaming than we thought. If this report from Bloomberg is true, that number's making the ABK buyout look small. Yeah, I mean, when we're talking like over $100 billion, I'm just like, okay, whatever that is, I don't even know what that is. And Boobs PR says Netflix is worth $400 billion, Disney $200 billion. I didn't realize Netflix was worth that much. $400 billion. I guess it kind of makes sense though. Why are they worth that much? I don't get it. Like, what is Netflix doing that they're worth that much? They're worth $424.75 billion. You think it's the subscriber count? They have 300 million subscribers. I guess that would explain it. Ripping people off. Yeah. Literally everyone here is likely on Netflix. That's true. I mean, I just resubscribed to I decided to watch the Stranger Things final season. But I'm telling you, man, like I'm gonna, once I'm done, I'm unsubscribing. I'm like, I'm not. I've watched all 4 seasons of Stranger Things. I'll watch the last one, but I think I'm gonna dip, and maybe I'll be back at some point. But I don't see myself remaining subscribed to them perpetually because I don't use it enough. I just don't. And Boobs PR says, dude, there's no way you're going to keep your name like that, are you? Come on, bro. Netflix got EA, FIFA, and Madden, and they would put that on Netflix. How would that even work, though? Like, I don't know. Like, I get that they want Netflix to kind of be a gaming platform, too, but I mean, That would be so bizarre if they were to acquire, like if they try to do this with WB and they really try to make a competitive platform. I don't see it happening, man. I mean, yeah, maybe from the cloud angle, perhaps, but that still feels like something that's a ways off. Still feels like it's many years away. We saw how that worked out with Google. And Google, I mean, they really thought like people are going to be into this. It's like, no, they're not, dude. Nobody wants this. And so I don't know when that's going to change. I think eventually it will, though. Like, I think we will get to a point where, yeah, it's like, I want to play my games. You just pick up a controller and you're just streaming it through your TV. I think we will get to that point. But I don't think it's in the next 5 years. I don't think it's in the next 10 years. I think it's still a couple decades away. Rich Rod, you're saying, hey, everyone, let's talk about our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, for a second. You'd be surprised. GeForce Now works really well. I've heard it works really well. But I'm just basing my assumptions and my predictions off of the market reaction. And I feel like the market reaction to cloud gaming as a whole has been either indifferent or negative. I think there is positivity, but that positivity seems to be in a much smaller subsect of gamers. From what I've observed, I could be wrong, but Microsoft is there with xCloud, PlayStation has cloud streaming, and all of it's really good. It's improved dramatically. I don't know when, and I'm not looking forward to it, to be honest. And that's just maybe the fact that I've grown up playing games a certain way, but when we get to the point where people are just playing their games through the cloud, it's going to be probably something I partake in to a degree, but I don't see it as like, I'm not going to see it as better. Like, I'm always going to think like, no, I think buying a console or a gaming PC or a PC that can do gaming decently well, and then buying your games and playing them natively, I will always feel like that's the better way. But I do think in the long run, eventually, maybe a few decades from now, that's how people are going to be engaging with their games. It's just, you're just streaming them. And Poops PR says, GeForce Now exists, and it is amazing. LOL, Netflix already has the base subscribers. This is nothing like Stadia. Oh, hold on. My YouTube studio crashed. Saying, this is nothing like Stadia. This is an add-on. Netflix's TV/film first. And from that perspective, I could see it turning into something bigger. It'll be like a humble beginning type thing where, well, Netflix has always tried to do some type of gaming stuff with their platform. I mean, they just announced Red Dead Redemption is now on it, right? And by the way, how does that work? Can somebody explain to me how you play Red Dead Redemption through Netflix? I've never really looked into it, but I know that that's something that was just announced, and it was something I didn't pay much attention to. But like, yeah, when you're reading off the different platforms that Red Dead Redemption was announced for, it's PS5, Xbox Series, Nintendo Switch 2, PC, or Steam, and then just like Netflix. And I'm like, oh yeah, that is a thing. On smartphones, you connect a controller to the TV. That's interesting. Yeah, I never really thought about it. Like, I guess you could just do that, right? Right now, like, you could connect a controller to the TV and then play Red Dead Redemption on. So do you just like Do you just stream it, I suppose? Like, or do you buy it? I have to look into this. I have Netflix now. I don't know. I've never thought about Netflix with gaming. That's just not a brand that I think of when I think of gaming. GeForce Now is on TVs. Is it on all TVs or just some? Yeah, I guess I'm a little bit out of the loop, I suppose, with some of these cloud streaming offerings. I didn't know that. That's news to me. It's an app on a lot of TVs. Huh. That's interesting. That is news to me. How big is GeForce Now streaming? GeForce Now streaming is big in terms of hardware power, RTX 5080 servers and resolutions of up to 5K, 120 FPS. Oh my God. But also big in terms of data usage, 4 to 16 gigabytes per hour. Oh my God. Requiring a strong, fast internet connection for optimal quality. It transforms devices into gaming PCs, supporting thousands of games, but relies heavily on your local network and unlimited data. Where is GeForce Now available? North America, Europe. Accessible on Windows, Mac OS, Android, iOS, and web browsers. GeForce Now is on many modern smart TVs, especially recent Samsung and LG models. Wow. Okay. I haven't been paying attention to GeForce Now. That's interesting. I mean, I think, yeah, this is kind of like the beginnings of what I think will be a more popular option in the future. Bro, you're out here streaming and doubting streaming. Uh-oh. Well, I think when it comes to consuming music and consuming movies and TV, I think that's been completely accepted as the go-to way for the overwhelming majority of people to engage with that media. But I think with gaming, it's just going to take longer. I think it is going to happen, like I said. I just think it's taking a little bit longer. And I think Sony will be ready. I mean, I think this is why Sony has invested. I mean, Sony was there with Gaikai before anybody, really, as far as I remember. And it seemed like, okay, I guess. Nobody was really paying attention to it. But Sony's improved their streaming. Microsoft has been, obviously, with xCloud. Where's Nintendo on streaming? Is that even a thing? It's just an app like Netflix or Prime. You're acting like this is some future technology. It's not. I guess what's just surprising to me about it is I didn't realize it was that accessible. Like, I knew you could access it on PC, on your laptop, on your desktop, whatever. I didn't know it was an app on TVs that you could just install. That is news to me. And it does make me wonder, like, how many people connect a controller to their TV and are like, this is how I game. I game through GeForce Now on my TV. GeForce caps your playtime and data usage, which can get expensive. Oh, wait, yeah, I remember reading something about that. That sucks. Well, with all these data centers that are being built, this is probably part of the reason. Part of the reason. They want to get to a point where, I mean, games are just data heavy. They just are. They're much heavier than music, than movies or shows. So they just got to get to a point where it's got to not be a problem for people to, like, we have to make it so there are no caps, or you could pay a higher price for unlimited. Rich Rod comes in with a different type of direct donation. Let me see. Hold on, let me read this. Rich Rod says, you better wish list the Jesus Christ simulator before you are forsaken. I have to filter your chats now. I ain't playing it, Rich. He says, before you are forsaken, I will not accept no. Don't go the soy route. You heard it here first, guys. You heard it here. I can never just be smooth with what I'm trying to say, I was going to have some kind of weird malfunction. Rich Rod will not accept no for an answer. And if you don't play Jesus Christ Simulator, then you're going the soy route, apparently. Don't do it. Thank you, Rich. I appreciate your donation. MBG, most data centers are in the shadow of DC near the military industrial complex. Look up Loudoun County, Virginia. I've seen some videos pop up of that. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with these data centers. It's a bit ominous. It feels dystopian. I think a lot of people feel that way. I think what depresses me the most is that, like, when I'm scrolling on Twitter and I see all this AI generated crap, a lot of people, and I don't know how much truth there is to this, but there has to be some level of truth where it's like, yeah, that's why. That right there. And I'm like, okay. I've mostly been indifferent to AI, but if it's like, if this really is what we're looking at, where it's like, this is what AI is going to bring to the table for us, guys. Yeah, this is looking bad. This is looking real bad. PR says 2.2 million play Netflix games daily from what I found. 2.2 million. Okay, I could see that. That sounds like a reasonable number for how big Netflix is. They have, like, what you said, over 300 million subscribers. I could see that number increasing if they can start offering, like, if they do get WB games and they can start offering bigger games like Mortal Kombat, the next Batman game, day one, and you could just stream it through Netflix. I could see that number increasing. And maybe that'll be their gateway, right? Offering WB titles on their platform. Now, here's the question. There's no way they would make them exclusive, right? There's just no way. Could you imagine if they did that? Injustice 3 is announced at the Game Awards. Sorry, hold on, guys. Really quick. Yeah, so I saw your chat. You're saying, did you see the new release date for GTA 6? Yes, I did. It's going to be next November. And a lot of people are anticipating it's going to get delayed again. Netflix originals do exist, but it's unlikely. That'd be crazy, dude. Yeah. Yeah, we were just talking about that, pushing polygons. That Paramount's now offering $102 billion for all of WB, we were just talking about, that's kind of what led us into this conversation about Netflix and how apparently they were trying to go after EA or considering it, and now they want WB, but now Paramount's not going to go down without a fight. I mean, in what universe are any of these companies, is any of this IP worth over $100 billion? I don't get it, man. Like, I can see the value in WBIP. I can see the value of having like the DC universe and all that stuff, but $100 billion, like, why? Why? You know how long it's going to take to get that back? It's not based on current value. It's based on future value. That's, yeah. I guess that makes sense. Doesn't that seem kind of dangerous though? It seems dangerous to me. Controlling what people see, hear, and read is worth a lot. That is true. Well, I guess the only question I'm left with is, do you think they'll take the offer? Do you think WB will say, well, $108 billion sure seems a lot better than $80 billion. Harry Potter, Batman, DC, Lord of the Rings. Yeah, I guess there is a lot of potential money depending on how they handle it. And I would assume if you're willing to pay that much to acquire it, you must have some kind of plan. Or maybe they don't. Maybe they're just that crazy. Paramount brought it to the board privately. Arkham City made over $600 million in revenue alone. That's one game. Got movies, comics, and all other games. True, yeah, I guess I'm not seeing the bigger picture of it. Well, somebody's going to get WB. And I guess it's going to be either between Netflix and Paramount, because I don't think somebody else is going to jump in and go above a $108 billion offer. But assuming that WB just wants to sell for the most amount of money, I would say at this point they're probably going to go with Paramount then, right? Who would you rather get WB? Would you rather Paramount or would you prefer Netflix? Wes, you're asking, do we think that statue is Saros related? I mean, it could be. Like I said, quite a few people believe that Video Game Award statue is Saros, but I don't know. I'm all out of guesses. I'm just gonna wait. It's a couple days away. I asked people on Twitter one last time to give their last guesses as to what it might be. Maybe I'll ask one more time the day of the show, but I don't know. It could be Saros, though. Saros is apparently going to be at the Game Awards based on the fact that pre-orders are going up soon. Paramount, because they own SpongeBob. Garrett says he'd rather Netflix, but Paramount would be better for theaters. Would Paramount be better for physical media, too? Because if that's the case, I think I'd probably lean more towards Paramount, just for that sake. Yeah, from the physical media side of it, I guess Paramount would be a better way to go. Well, I guess we'll see. Yeah, that's a little bit surprising, though. I mean, you think 80 billion is already like wild, and they're like, yeah, we're just gonna make it 108 billion. I see we crossed the 2-hour mark, though, guys. I definitely went a little bit longer than I had planned to. My goal was to keep this stream a little bit shorter today. So I'm going to do that by, I guess, wrapping it up here. I think, yeah, if you ask me, I think all acquisitions like this have inherent risk built in, you know, but I don't think that's going to stop any of these companies. It does seem like the future is like IP. It's the future's IP. The future is owning as much as you can, I guess. So, all right. You changed MBG, maybe I did. I don't know, not really. It's a Monday, you know. There's just not a whole lot going on. Everybody's just waiting for the Game Awards. But yeah, guys, I think that's going to wrap up the stream. Thank you for tuning in today. I do appreciate it. Shout out to everybody who watched live, and also a thank you to everybody who can't make it to the live streams, but you watched after the fact. I do appreciate your support as well. And I want to thank anybody who dropped any support. If you dropped any membership gifts, or if you dropped any super chats, or even direct donations like Rich Rod, I do appreciate it. It helps the channel. You guys allow me to do what I do here. On the mergers subreddit, they've been asking if Sony will be selling the entertainment side in the near future. Uh-oh. You think so? You think so? Who would they sell to? Maybe that'll be a conversation for a different day. Will there be a stream tomorrow? I guess it depends. I don't want to just force one if there's like absolutely nothing to talk about, but it's slow going right now. So we'll see what comes out between now and tomorrow. Just make sure you have notifications turned on. And I also want to give a shout out to Devil Shooter, who does the timestamps for the stream. So if you guys see Devil Shooter in the comments with those timestamps, show him some love, give him some thanks. I know he appreciates it. Sorry, Gaming Survivor literally comes in and is like, yo, what's up, man? Doing my outro, Gaming Survivor. I'm sorry. It's a short day today. Sorry. There's a Capcom show today? I don't think so. I don't think there's a Capcom show today. No. Not that I'm aware of. I know they're showing up at the Game Awards, but another intro. No, well, sorry, Gaming Survivor. You can come back and listen to the stream and listen to the topics if you're interested, but we'll have more streams coming up. You know, we're going to be streaming the Game Awards and whatnot. Oh, a Monster Hunter showcase? Okay, yeah, I'm good on that. All right, guys. Enjoy the rest of your Monday. Hold on. Now you guys are saying Capcom show confirmed before I go. There's no Capcom show. There's no Capcom show. And even if there is, it's clearly for just like Monster Hunter. You guys are just trying to troll me. And it's working. All right, guys. I'll catch you in the next stream. All right, so until then, take care, everyone.